Hello, I'm Darren Magee, and the topic for today comes from a question asking what is meant by the term abuse by proxy. So today, I'll outline what abuse by proxy is and give some examples of it. I'll also look at some of the motivations behind it, and lastly, I'll look at the effects it can have on someone. So if you find this topic interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel. Now, firstly, abuse refers to any behavior, action, or pattern of conduct that can cause harm, injury, distress, or suffering to another individual. And there are different forms of abuse. There's physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, financial abuse. It can even take place through neglect. But abuse by proxy refers to a form of abuse in which someone manipulates or uses others to carry out abusive behavior on their behalf. They involve a third party or parties as a means of controlling, intimidating, or manipulating a victim. In other words, the abuser inflicts harm or control over their victim indirectly by getting others to do it for them. And it can occur in different settings, such as within families, relationships, workplaces, institutions, or communities. It can even happen on social media. And it can happen in different ways. One way is if the abuser maybe doesn't have access to their victim, they've maybe no means of interacting directly, so they enroll others to pass on or gather information or to stalk on their behalf, maybe just to spread gossip. They encourage others to attack the victim or withdraw support, resources. Or, if their victim cannot be attacked directly, the abuser might attack them indirectly by targeting something or someone important to them, such as their friends, their family, social groups they belong to, their jobs, property, even their pets. So they attack elsewhere, knowing it will hurt their victim. Or they may recruit others to carry out the abuse with them, so the victim feels outnumbered, they feel as if they're being mobbed, feels as if their support network has diminished, they're alone. They can keep on recruiting others just to add fuel to the fire, keeping their victim in a state of distress. If you will, they make arrows and then give them to other people to fire at the victim on their behalf. Another example could be how the abuser might create a situation or a scenario aimed at punishing their victim through embarrassment or humiliation. They might sabotage something knowing that either the victim is depending on it or maybe others are depending on the victim and they have ruined that. They might spread rumors, gossip in order to create a particular image of their victim. They might accuse them of offenses they didn't commit or exaggerate something that maybe did happen. They might create a conflict of some kind between their victims and others where there wasn't one previously. Another example could be how they might provoke a situation where the victim reacts defensively and then they focus on that reaction as evidence of their victim's anger issues or their mental health problems, and others might start to believe that and start to behave differently towards the victim. So other people become the instruments of their abuse as the victim becomes socially isolated, maybe ostracized, condemned, rejected. Then there could be using the rules, the guidelines, or authority figures to control and coerce. They use law enforcement, legal advisors, the management at work, religious leaders to enforce their agenda for them, in some cases pathologizing their victims. Or they might make multiple complaints to someone's workplace in the hope that they will lose their job. Now, in a workplace, someone might use other team members to ostracize or undermine a particular employee by, again, spreading rumors, giving them unfair treatment, or encouraging others to withdraw from them, to isolate them. A hostile environment might be created where there is bullying, harassment, sabotaging of projects. There could be the reporting of every fault, every error. And if this is happening on multiple fronts, the victim can feel continually undermined, misrepresented, and isolated by all of their colleagues, not just the abuser. Now, another form of abuse by proxy, quite common in the breakup of a toxic relationship, is parental alienation. This is when one parent might try to turn a child against the other parent by using manipulation tactics, false accusations, or disparaging remarks about the other parent. It is anything to try to damage the child's relationship with the other parent. On social media, an abuser might use their own account or they might use several anonymous accounts to target someone. They might even encourage their followers to attack, harass, or threaten their target on their behalf. Given how quickly a pile-on spreads through social media, Sometimes all they have to do is maybe post something about their target, even if it's just an opinion that paints them in a poor light, or maybe share something the victim did or said, but doing it out of context. Then they just sit back and let others do the work for them. So there are just a few examples of abuse by proxy, and it can work on different levels from the abuser's perspective. It furthers the victim's misery. It can isolate them from others. It can isolate them from potential sources of support. Victims might fear speaking up or speaking out of fear of others not believing them or fear of being punished further. There could be fear of someone or something close to them being targeted as well, so they stay quiet. They might fear losing their status, in some cases, losing their jobs. And it also works for the abuser in the sense that when others are carrying out the abuse on their behalf, they feel validated. Others agree with them. The victim obviously deserves it. However, if things go badly, they might claim innocence. The most they did was maybe point out the victim's behaviour. It was others who were outraged and did all the work. Or in some cases, maybe the victim reacts in such a way that others believe that perhaps they're as bad as each other. And the effects can be devastating on those who have to endure it. Like with all forms of long-term abuse, many victims experience anxiety, depression, feelings of isolation. They can question their own sense of self-worth, even their sanity, due to the ongoing manipulation and coercion. Abuse by proxy can also damage other relationships. Victims can find it difficult to trust others, even those they had trusted previously. They might fear they're being gang-stalked. Victims can become angry, nervous, depressed, anxious, hypervigilant, sometimes reactive. And sometimes these reactions can play into the abuser's and their enabler's version of the victim being unstable. So to summarize, abuse by proxy involves an abusive person recruiting third parties to do their bidding in attacking and harassing their targets on their behalf. Now, these could be friends, colleagues, workmates, family members, authorities, social media followers. Now, in some cases, those they recruit may be every bit as toxic as the abuser is, and they enjoy it. Sometimes they might fear what might happen to them if they don't comply. But I think in many cases, they're just being lied to, used and manipulated. Many times they are discarded, dumped, sometimes even punished, once they have served their purpose. So that's a brief outline of abuse by proxy. Now, as always, if there's anything I've missed, anything you'd like to add, please feel free to use the comment box below. There are some interesting conversation starts from these videos. But if you find this interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.